Hello, Nation. I'm here with my good friend and colleague, Jeremy Pettus. Today, we're going to talk about virtual diabetes visits. It's certainly going on now with all this quarantine stuff, which is a good thing. And it may be a thing of the future because, as we're going to describe, may work out pretty well.
Yep. And I'm coming to you live all the way on the other side of the TCOID office. I can't see or hear Steve except through this computer. So Steve, real quick, you mentioned why we're doing this. You know, there's this need for social distancing right now, very important to limit the spread of the virus. We're trying to keep the clinics and the hospitals free of patients to kind of free up space in case that we're really overwhelmed by needing to see people rapidly. So this is becoming the way of the future. And, you know, it's just something we've been doing with diabetes for a long time. So let's talk about some of the positives and negatives of doing these virtual visits. What are some of the positives?
Yeah, some of the positives are it's so convenient for everybody. You don't have to get in your car. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to check in. And you can, diabetes is a condition where we really don't need to see you face to face in a clinic. We don't do too many things on the physical exam for people with diabetes. So I just think it's convenient for everybody, hassle-free, and may lead to better care.
Right. You know, and we love you patients, but sometimes we just don't need to see you. And what's some other advantages? Well, I'm wearing my jammies right now. I got my Optimus Prime Transformer shirt on. I got my fuzzy pants. So I'm feeling pretty comfy here on the other side of the TCOID office.
Yeah, and I drink a lot of, diet iced tea. So
yeah, exactly. And what am I drinking in here? I don't know. Is it Diet Coke? Is it bourbon? Is it nicely mixed Moscow Mule? Who knows? Only me. The other thing, Steve, you can hide your snacks from your provider. I got a big thing of M&Ms back here. You had no idea. I've been snacking on those all day long.
You took those from my office.
I know. So that's one of the negatives. But what are some of the other negatives, Steve? What's a disadvantage of not coming in person?
Yeah, there's not too many negatives, actually. I do think that the human interaction is important. If you can do your visit with a video cam like this, like Zoom, it's great because you can at least see people's expression, putting your hands on somebody, and maybe doing part of a physical that's needed. I just think that is important, but this is pretty close.
Yeah, I would say the one big negative is that it's on the patient to really come prepared. They can be used to just kind of showing up, you hand over your meter, you hand over your pump, and it gets downloaded. You need to make sure that all that information, all your labs are ready before you get seen, that you somehow get your CGM information to the clinic if you're on a continuous glucose monitor, send in your meter download. So it's going to take some work on your part to get that information to the clinic however they get it, because without that information, it becomes a wasted visit.
And just to add on to that, as we're talking now about preparing for your visit, if you can get your weight, if you have a home blood pressure cuff, take your temperature, and as Jeremy said, get all of your information together, gather it from the laboratory, if you go to Quest or wherever you get your blood from, and have all that information ready, and have your 3 or less most important questions and issues you want to discuss. Yep. That's important.
And that goes really for any visit, but especially for these virtual visits, which can be kind of lined up back to back to back. Take a minute, sit down, write down your top 3 things you want to talk about, not top 12. And the more focused you can be, the more that you can get out of that visit. So prepare in that way. Super important.
Yeah. And as Jeremy always says, focus on that visit. And this visit, just because it's a video or a telephone call, it doesn't mean you have all day. It's not like talking to your ex-mother-in-law.
Right.
You got to, these caregivers like us, we have them lined up just because we want to make sure we take care of everybody. What else, Jeremy?
So with that in mind, it's worth talking about how these visits actually happen. And to your point, the way that our system works is that on my phone, I see my patient's schedule just like I normally would. And as soon as the patient has kind of logged in on their side, I get a little text and I just click, join the visit. But I'm still on my visit schedule, so I'm still trying to, do my work to stay on time. So it's important for patients to be kind of respectful for that.
And believe it or not, it's going to go just like you were sitting in an exam room with your caregiver.
Yep.
So basically the same. You say hello. He or she asks how you're doing. You focus in on the most important issues because time is of the essence. And you try to review the data that you've collected, even if you have to hold up a meter result or
right.
any kind of download. If you can't email it or send it in, just have it there in front of you. You could read off the values.
Right. And, they can be kind of fun. When your patient pops up, you never quite know where they are. They might be in their car or their office or whatever. So it's kind of fun to see them in their natural habitat. And to your point there too, Steve, be prepared in case things do go wrong. The video feed gets cut out sometimes. The CGMs aren't downloaded. Be able to, just kind of talk through, your issues with your blood sugars or whatever in case this technology kind of goes awry.
Yeah, that's important because it's like Murphy's Law. You should have seen me yesterday trying to get the system going, but I'm better now. Well, that is basically it. If one last thing, if you have let's say you have a foot ulcer or you have a skin rash, you can actually try to get that close to the camera. And believe it or not, they can get a lot of information just by taking a quick look, and then they can decide what to do from that point.
And we can actually take pictures of that, and it gets saved to the medical record. So that's really nice.
Yeah, put it on Facebook, things like that.
So, prepare for your visit. The actual visit is pretty much the same, except you can't be physically touched. And then the after visit, there's a couple things that are a little bit different. And I think it really comes down to two things. One is how you get the information summarized to you after a visit. Typically, a lot of times clinics will print that information out for you and physically hand it to you when you leave. Can't do that when you're at home. So make sure there's some way that this visit gets wrapped up and emailed to you or sent to you electronically for you to review. That's one. And two, the process for making a follow-up visit might be a little bit different. You can't just wander out to the nurse's, area after your visit and chat with them about your next appointment. You might need to do that electronically or with a follow-up phone call. So make sure when that visit ends, you have your next appointment, you know how to make it. That's very important.
Yeah, and make sure you have a list of your prescriptions that you need refilled for sure. Well, that's it, folks. That's your virtual visit with Doctors Pettus and Edelman. And okay, so long for now, nation.
Yeah, great job, Steve. All right, just
okay. All right.
Okay.
Turn it off, and I'll catch you later. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Steve, you're Steve. God, your camera's still on, bud.
Sure.
Why don't you have pants on? That's ridiculous.